The full moon bites your senses, the darkness knows your name. It whispers lies into the wind to convince them you're insane. Your friends ask friends, where you been? Yet it seems no one knows. The color black paints your lips and dominates all your clothes. Your walls adorned with Ouija boards, your bookcase may catch fire. From magic books and murder crooks, this fascination never tires. 'Cause somewhere not so long ago you woke and found the weird. Conspiracies and aliens, ancient demons, cults of fear. It's all more real than so-called news, it's everywhere you go. Thank God that John and Stacey welcomed you into the show. Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your hosts, authors of Till Death and Beyond, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we want to start this off with an apology. Mm-hmm. An apology for the sounds of last week's episode.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have to apologize for what I said this time. This time it was the way it sounded. And I really hate it. We had some audio issues. We didn't know it till it was too late. And those audio issues was blowing out at first, but we put up the one to try to get the best quality version that we could get, and it was really low. So we put up a louder version, but it just was bad all the way around, and we apologize for that. Those things happen, they say.
They do say that.
And, so hopefully it doesn't happen too often. We've had quite the time with our world-class, stuff here that takes a couple of world classes to get correct, but
right.
Still yet apologize for that. But on the good side of things, hopefully you patrons have been spending some time looking at our little moon adventure on patreon.com/paranormal sideshow. The sideshow also have got to enjoy quite a few little moon adventures with our moon camera.
Yes.
I don't care what it's actually called. It's called our moon camera.
It's called Let's Let Every Day Be Cloudy, since you got the awesome moon camera.
Yeah,
well,
we can't complain because over the full moon, the super red kill you moon, that was this one. We got to see some pretty cool stuff, man.
Yeah.
It was some pretty cool stuff. We've seen some craters and some maters and some potatoes. So it's all been some good stuff. Anyway, hopefully you guys are joining us on that. We've had a lot of fun. We got a lot more fun planned, including the fact that we can actually live stream that shiznada. And we plan on doing that, but right now we've just been having a good time just uploading it right as soon as we get done with it. But we want to live stream just so you can spot it with us, but we just want to make sure we establish this and then we get you used to it and we can live stream with an audience and some chat and
there you go.
And some good stuff like that. So that's all in your court. We want to see what the interest levels are and then do that and see if we can't spot some stuff. But also we've had quite the adventure with the El Shaco, which is our tripod and or even tripod.
Yes.
It's easy for me to say.
It's the combination of the tripod and the back deck.
Yes,
I do believe.
The back deck's a bit shaky. But so maybe we'll figure that out.
Yes.
Or you'll just get used to the shake. Now I think the better tripod will be fine, even with the shake.
Right.
Because it's not that bad of a shake.
No.
And it's still a lot of fun. So it's a lot of good fun. And the moon looks fantastic, man. I just want to see the UAP with the sideshow offs. I want that to happen. I want them to spot it. I want it to come through the chat. So I might be able to use my manipulation of alien minds and get them to, make a little showing for us.
Oh, blink some lights.
Yes, maybe blink 182 of them. That would be pretty neat, wouldn't it?
It would.
But we've also had some craziness going on around the house. The house has been very active here recently. More active than normal, which is saying something because it's always a little bit active.
Right.
But here recently, it's been crazy. We actually had a shared experience with Stacey and myself. We both seen something that looked suspiciously a lot like Ariana, but it wasn't Ariana.
Right.
Walk through the hallway and go to the bathroom, which is also much like Ariana.
Right.
And not that she uses the bathroom a lot. It's her office. And she goes in there and thanks, and you know.
I think maybe it's one of the few times she emerges from her room.
Yes.
And we actually see her out.
Yes, it's the rare sighting of that teenage creature. But she does go back there, and we did see something. I seen something that was like full color, all that good stuff. Stacey saw a shadow. Same time, same thing. We just saw different things. Just how stuff happens. And there's been other things. There's been mysterious, knocks and bangs and giggles and poos and stuff like that. And then even last night, me and the kids were watching wrestling, and we were having a good time. It was a very important part of the show. And all of a sudden, one of Kyler's toys starts going off. It was a remote control truck. And you would think maybe the batteries were low, except it's not a battery operated one. And it's one that you just charge up. And it was fully charged.
The controller is missing, actually.
Yeah. So
we don't know where it is. So none of us were doing it.
Yeah. None of us had anything to do, but it just started going nuts. And it was pretty cool. So Stacey finished our SLS camera.
Yes.
Yeah, she built our SLS. And as soon as she built it, she was sitting there with Kyler, and of course, in the section that I was talking about with the upstairs bathroom, I had told her that there's something that hangs out on the stairs, and it goes up and down the stairs quite often. So guess what happens? She makes it. She's pointing it, and this is weird. Kyler, who was sitting with her, all of a sudden got very scared.
It was very strange.
I'll let you tell it.
Like, I was sitting in the corner and I was testing it out, and Kyler was the only one up there with me because they were watching wrestling, and usually during wrestling he comes upstairs with me and just plays, and he has his play area up here. And so he's sitting in the middle of the floor playing with some Batman figures, and I was pointing the SLS at him to test it because I wanted to see, the little skeleton figure on there. And it wasn't really catching him because the way he was sitting, he was kind of sitting in a ball on the floor. But a figure did show up on the stairs. And so I just sat there really still, and I just kept it pointed towards him, and past him was, where the stairs were. And after like 30 seconds of it standing there, he leaned forward, looked at the stairs, and then immediately got up and ran over to me, telling me that he saw something and he was scared.
Yeah. And
then whatever it was on the stairs disappeared.
And he doesn't do that.
No.
It's really rare for him to do anything like that. So when he does, of course, we always listen to the kids, and we're like the opposite of a movie family, where on a movie or TV show, the family goes, "Oh no, that was just some smoke out of Grandma's ass."
I will point out that we weren't in the dark. He was playing and the lights were on.
Yeah.
So I wasn't using it in infrared, and there was not anything that you could see physically in the studio. Like, I could see the room. It wasn't pitch black or anything like that. So
yeah, pretty nutty, man.
It was crazy.
Yeah. So there's been some stuff going on, and that's all cool, right? Except it's not. So last night she brings the SLS down. And again, we have a little figure right at the end of
the couch.
Yeah, right at the end of the couch, just hanging out, just a little figure.
Yep.
And he was like, "Hey, what's up, guys?"
Just going to hang here, see what's going on.
All that good stuff. But hey, again, patreon.com/Paranormal Sideshow. And something else that's really cool, if you haven't noticed yet, paranormalsideshow.com is very cool because we have revamped it, revitalized, renewed, and all that good stuff. It's a brand new website, and it's got paranormal news now.
Yes.
So Stacey, links up some paranormal news stories throughout the week. And if you're into that kind of thing, which you obviously are, it's a great place to find some paranormal news. It's your paranormal news destination. You actually have one now. So go ahead and favorite it, make it your homepage, whatever you want to do.
Yes. And I do put stories up that we don't always go over on the show. Maybe there were too many stories, or it wasn't something particularly important, but still interesting.
Yeah.
I try to put a lot of those up so that it's something different from what you're getting on the show.
Yeah, and so it's pretty cool. The paranormal news, spread it around, let people know paranormalsideshow.com is your destination for paranormal news.
Yes.
So a lot of fun, and we've been waiting on that one, so that's cool, man. Very cool. I want to address something that's in the news. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. So I really want to address something because over the past few weeks and months, we've been hearing a lot about UFOs, obviously. And, we've got the big report getting ready to drop. And that big report, as we've speculated, could be groundbreaking or it could be fizzly. We don't know yet. We've seen a lot of work on either side to either downplay it or to play it up, just depending on what team you're playing for. So, and we've seen a lot of things where they're going to be able to do finger pointing and this and that. But I don't want to talk about any of that. We've speculated on that enough and talked about that enough. My thing that I want to talk about is the community. The UFO community, UFO Twitter, if you will, but that the community that is supposed to be pretty unified and all fighting for the same thing, right?
Right.
Well, it seems that sometimes that's not actually the case. And it's gotten to the point where I'm honestly pissed off. I mean, I'm just going to make my official statement for the public. And this is just the way I feel about things, because I am not only in this. I do other things in my life that also have communities filled with people that have done it for 30 years or 40 years or whatever. And it's a lot of the same noise. Okay. It's a lot of that same vibe. Whereas you have some guy, let's say in my pro wrestling world, you have a kid come along that's just amazing. He's next level. He's everything. He's like a new Steve Austin or The Rock or something. He shows up and he's just electrifying. Okay. And you have a lot of these 30-year guys that have been wrestling in the same armory for 30 odd years, doing the same stuff and, paying the dues, putting the time in. And these guys get really upset. They're really mad. And they're like, who's this kid? He hasn't done anything. Who's he beat? The kind of thing, what? And there's a lot of angst toward this person and a lot of let's downplay him. Let's crucify him. Let's, talk crap on him. Let's find out all these reasons to hate him instead of celebrating the fact that somebody's super talented. They did something cool. They maybe got a new move or they brought a new style in. Instead of opening up and being like, that's great. Let's welcome you to the community. I've probably got a lot I can teach you. There's probably a lot of little things you don't know how to do yet.
Right.
Let me show you that. But man, you're definitely onto something, and it's very much the same thing in your paranormal field or your ufology field.
Right.
And one of the main things I always hear from a lot of people like me, because I've been in this since the 90s. Okay. That's just the truth. It's there. It's documented. But you hear a lot of people that will say, hey, John, what'd you think about that Timmy too? Timmy Tutu, he got his own paranormal show. Oh, did he? Did he actually? Oh, okay. I don't know what to think about that. What do you think about it? Well, I mean, who is he? He just came out of nowhere. Yeah, they tend to do that. He's probably attractive and speaks well. And they put something in his hand and gave him a show. I mean, that's just TV. That's just how that works. A lot of times they're not going to use the guy who's been on his shortwave radio locked in a basement for 25 years. That guy might have a lot more to tell us.
Right.
And some amazing, amazing stories. And should that guy totally be on TV? Yeah, he should. But instead, they're going to give it to this young kid who just happens to be pleasing to the eyes or be able to go upstairs. I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but I don't knock it until I try it.
Right.
It's just like anything. I try to watch it with open arms and open eyes. And sometimes you get things like Ghost Adventures that's, back in 2008 or 2007, 2000 something, when they first started, everybody was peeing all over them and was just like, can you believe this? And I was the biggest proponent of them possible. I loved it. Because my investigation style at the time was just like it. But we grow as human beings. And we grow every day. We change every day. We evolve. And as we get older, we learn from our mistakes. You gain an appreciation. And I'll tell you this, man, I wouldn't give any of it up. I wouldn't change any of it as much as I sit and debate. Would I change this? Would I change that? No, because it was the journey, far more than the destination. It's the journey of the growth and of being able to learn from your mistakes and grow. And so when I see something like that, I embraced that at the time, but I got to watch them grow. And now, it's it is the top show there is, and hands down, right? And they really go through, they have the ability to go anywhere they want to go. It's the most entertaining show I see, but also it's going to be able to teach. And they've seen everything. They've got a lot to go back on, and you can learn a lot from watching it just because they've grown over the years. They've gotten older, just like we all do. And, so when I see somebody come on a show that may not be, it might be green or whatever, I'm okay with it. I mean, if they suck, they suck, man.
Right.
There's also people that's done it for 20 years that suck. It doesn't mean that you don't. So I like to give this stuff a chance. I'm just saying, in the paranormal field, that is something also there. But when we get to what I'm talking about here, which is ufology, in the UFO field, I never would have imagined that I would be seeing what I've been seeing since all this has been coming out about, these releases and these documents and what so-and-so has been able to get out there, and, and what we're on the cusp of seeing possibly. I thought this is what we were all doing it for. I thought that we all just wanted the same destination on this. I thought we all wanted disclosure of some type, of some kind. We all wanted to know that, we weren't crazy, that we haven't been living a lie, that we haven't been duped this whole time. And the problem is, people are always like, well, you got to watch out for this disinformation and this and that. Yeah, that's true. But you're also going to have to trust somebody eventually. I mean, everything is not a conspiracy. Every single thing that comes down to you is not a lie. There's got to be a time where you're like, no, well, maybe I'll take a chance on this one. Because, the stuff I've been seeing, it's not from everybody, but from a lot of people. I think some people are professional complainers, number one. I think that they're just out there to criticize anything they see. Or if they see a bunch of people liking something on Twitter, I'm talking, or social media in general, they have to crap all over it. It's really strange, man. I don't understand that philosophy. I don't understand why people do that, but they seem to do that. And some other folks are just full of bunk, or they want to protect their bunk. And by doing that and by saying that, maybe it's how they make their money. Maybe they make their living off telling you, hey, you can't trust this person, you can't trust that person. We got to make this video and do this. And then all of a sudden those people are like, okay, look, we're going to give you this. We're going to start sharing this to you little bit by little bit. And then these people come out and are like, no, you can't trust this. No, this guy's totally lying. Okay. You got to believe in me. What you need to do is you put this little hat on and you stand here in this one little spot and you sing Kumbaya to the aliens in your mind, and they're all going to show up and do a little jig for you. Okay. That's much more believable than the United States government releasing, documents and videos from fighter jets. And I mean, that's honestly, in a nutshell, that's some of the stuff going on. I make it funny, but that's really kind of close to what's going on in some cases. And you have to step back and look at it. When stuff like that happens, you have to step back and go, okay, let me consider what you're saying. I considered it. And that's about as far as I got with some of this, because it's ludicrous. It really is. And that's also going from people when you dig, because I think that opens you up for digging, when you do stuff like that. So let's just say in the past couple of weeks, somebody came out to crap on somebody else. So I'm like, okay, I remember seeing this. Let me go ahead and dig. Because I think when you say stuff, you open yourself up for digging. And it didn't take very long to find out, oh, this person had an event and they totally hired a plane to come through and make it seem like it was a UFO, and, things like that. That stuff unfortunately happens in everything. It happens in the field of psychics. You have charlatans, you have real ones, and the charlatans hurt it for everybody. You have real, UFO abductees, and then you have ones that hurt it for everyone. You have real sightings and windows, and you have real paranormal videos and ones that hurt it for everybody. It's a big sucky shame, and it just really is. But we need to give we got to give this a chance. Okay? Give it a chance, because if we all crap on it and close our eyes to it and close our minds to it, maybe that's exactly what they want. Maybe their conditioning has led us to this point. I mean, listen, conditioning from the government has gotten so bad that we were watching a UFO video earlier, and it was a family that captured one of the better things I've seen in months. And this is just from a couple days ago in North Carolina. Right. And it sounds like a mother, a father, a daughter, and a son. I don't know the combination, but that's exactly the kind of, that was who was standing there, was a man, a woman, a younger man, and a younger woman. And they capture this thing, and it's got a big flame. But I mean, dude, it's got this long flame coming behind it. Mm-hmm. And at first you would think, well, that's a meteor or something. But then the flame goes away, and it just turns into like a craft or whatever. Right. And it wasn't like a shooting star thing. It was like sort of just flying across the sky. Yeah. Yeah. Big flame to start with. And the first thing was, the mom was the only one making sense. Mm-hmm. But the mom was like, oh my God, that. But then it sounded like the daughter, and she was like, oh, what was it? Oh, she said, isn't that one of those lantern things? Yeah, she goes, I think that's a lantern. It's going like 100 miles an hour and got, a 2-mile flame at the ass of it. Right. So they're like, no, that's not a lantern, honey. And then I think the dad's like, it's something. And, and it was all ludicrous. And the kid, like the little boy, was my favorite one. He goes, it's a light balloon. A light balloon. Yeah. Okay. Yep. I was like, give that kid a freaking job with the bunkers right there. Yeah, he's gonna work for NASA one day. And he was like, "Isn't it a plane? Isn't it?" And he had like 6 or 7 different explanations. Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes it's just a UFO because there's UFOs. They're everywhere. Mm-hmm. Every day there's a UFO sighting, a really good one. It's not just the ones they showed on 60 Minutes, folks. And I know most of the listeners know this. I know you know this, but it just fires me up for everybody else because that's not the only ones. And I know why some of these veterans get so upset because, they've studied this and went through everything they could to get 2 lines of a document. And then all of a sudden, hey, we're gonna like take this, release this, and this is. I do feel bad for those people that have spent 20 years trying to get all this information, and then in like a month, the Pentagon's like, "Well, here you go. Yeah, here, everybody take this." But that doesn't mean that people like Lou Elizondo. It doesn't mean that Senator Harry Reid or Jeremy Corbell or any of these people are full of crap. It does not mean that whatsoever. No. It doesn't matter that you played in a pop band. Okay, right. If you were into UFOs. I'm a freaking pro wrestler that used to be the lead singer of a metal band. I think part of the problem is just the sheer hatred that comes out from the rest of the UFO community. Like just the negativity. I mean, you don't have to believe what they're saying, but you don't have to be hateful about it either. Yeah. I mean, are you really looking for the truth? Mm-hmm. Or perhaps you're looking for everyone to believe your version of the truth? You got to ask yourself that. Are you going to be okay with the fact that maybe your theory wasn't correct? And you know what? Everybody, when they get on a show, they say the same stuff. They want to look cool. Well, this is a field of theories, Jim. That's all well and good until your theory is questioned. And it's not even like somebody's directly questioning it. They question it by the fact of having another theory. Mm-hmm. It's not coming after you. So what side of history do you want to be on? What hill do you choose to die on? That's your choice. But let me tell you this. If this stuff comes out and it's all 100% accurate and it's all real, then the people that were shitting all over it and trying to protect their little thing are going to look like assholes. Okay. That's just the long and short of it. So why not play the smart thing? People don't do this anymore. Sit back and listen. Take it all in. Wait before judging. Maybe consider. Yeah. Consider the possibility that the other person's right. Yeah. I mean, because everybody's playing with the same deck of information here.
So I really I know it's none of our listeners, because our listeners are really wonderful people that like to use their left and right turn indicators and adopt sick pets. I know our listeners are cool people.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that seriously. Everyone I've ever interacted with is really good people.
Mm-hmm.
There's this small but loud sect of people, and I believe they live in Twittertown, USA. And they just like to troll and attack anything that you deem that could be interesting or good, or, something like that. And this is unprecedented. This is unprecedented. This is the first time in the history of this crap that we're actually getting a chance to maybe have some form of disclosure and maybe get a bunch of cool answers, maybe get a bunch of new questions,
mm-hmm.
maybe get a bunch of footage or a bunch of stories that we all get to dissect and take chances looking at and all this stuff, but official releases from our government, agencies, and what they've looked at, what they've deemed interesting, what they've thought that they should look into. That stuff's really fun and interesting for everyone. So no matter who is the one releasing it,
mm-hmm.
or, how they got in there, that doesn't really concern me all that much. I mean, I dare say that, like if Lou Elizondo was actually, full of shit like that, they would have him in jail. I mean, you can't be in all these places. Maybe 60 Minutes might vet people every now and then. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that at this point, it's kind of silly. But I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to talk about that a little bit.
I don't blame you. It's important.
All right. As a little treat for listening to my political speech there, I wanted to talk something and stay on the subject of UFOs a little bit, but a little bit of groovy subject of UFOs. I want to talk about some mass sighting events that, really go under the radar for the most part. I know we know about things like the Phoenix Lights and,
mm-hmm.
We talked about Washington, D.C. and stuff like that. But there are some mass sighting events out there that people have forgotten about, but are really astounding.
Mm-hmm.
But the first one I'm going to start with is not a mass sighting of a UFO event as much as a mass sighting of something that just really took the internet by storm. And at the time, we weren't really talking viral very much. I mean, it was right around the time that we really started doing that. But 2009,
mm-hmm.
there was something that got my attention. And boy, did it get my attention, because I was already into everything, but God, it took me down this YouTube route that I was every freaking day, buddy. I was all over it. And that was the big thing in Norway. And that was that big spiral in the sky. Now, we've heard things, about that, like it's a rocket. And we've seen other rockets malfunction since then that looked a lot like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that Norwegian Spiral, as it's affectionately called, in 2009, it looked crazy. And it was so much like a portal.
Mm-hmm.
What you imagine a portal to be for UFOs that come through time and space or whatever. And maybe it was a rocket, but there has been some things recently that have come up that maybe make you think it's not a Russian rocket. But the story was, in early December of 2009 in Norway, there was this unusual occurrence, and it prompted news reports, conspiracy theories, publicity like you've really never seen on something like this. It was December 9th, 2009, and that's the day that we saw a large blue spiral of light that suddenly appeared on the horizon. The spiral moved, circling into a large black hole before fizzling out and disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
The sight was unbelievable. I mean, it looked like something you would create for a Hollywood movie. And there was hundreds of onlookers, and they had never seen anything like it before. So everybody was really just Valhalla. They were just freaking out in Norway. But the official reports to it said the light show was a result of a failed rocket launch. The Belava ICBM, which is known to be a missile plagued with problems and imperfect test launches, unconfirmed by Russian officials, an anonymous military source responded that it had been a submarine missile launch in the White Sea. The missile, rumored to have been out of control, exploded on the dim morning horizon, creating an unusual light pattern in the shape of a spiral. That was showcased from the sun's beams reflecting off of and backlighting the leaking fuel. However, one Russian official denied any claims of rocket launches, leaving skeptics to speculate just what in the world the spiral really was. Skeptics talk about it obviously being that they thought maybe auroras had something to do with it, or Russian spaceships, magnetic fields, something, a black hole project by the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland, even a massive projection in the sky has all been things raised by skeptics. It's a crazy, crazy video and just pretty insane. I don't know. It was something that you just really got excited when you saw it.
Right.
And,
well, having seen it and also seen some of the other ones where for sure it was a failed rocket launch or rocket, they do look different.
Yeah, they do. Well,
I mean, they're similar, but...
There was this one thing written. It says, when watching a video, the unusual spiral in the sky seems to show the twisting of the sky itself. Could it be a portal, a wormhole, maybe spinning around a ship with extraterrestrial technology? Even more, the end of the video seems to corroborate the story further with a flying saucer-shaped hole surrounded by a ring of white fire, clearly visible in the morning sky. UFO watchers believe this to be the strongest proof yet that alien life exists. Furthermore, a Chinese TV show had previously aired in April of 2009 with a very similar UFO explanation and visual, leading many to believe the incident is truly extraterrestrial. With the science community statement that they've never seen anything like it, and the Russian military's dodgy explanations and claims for the phenomenon, the possibility of a true UFO sighting is more believable than ever. So it's
that one
pretty
always
interesting.
has been weird. Yes.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of it. Anyway, this next one is another one that's man, you just don't get a lot of people talk about this, but I do see it from time to time on a documentary or some footage anyway. July 11th, 1991, it was Mexico City. The last total eclipse of the century occurred. And for the residents of Mexico City, the eclipse prompted a festive celebration. Thousands took to the streets as one of the world's largest cities was plunged into total darkness in the middle of broad daylight. No one imagined that the entire country was about to be swept into a wave of UFO hysteria. That afternoon, a television executive named Guillermo Aragon was videotaping the eclipse from a rooftop when he noticed an unusual object overhead. Jamie Mawson, a respected television journalist in Mexico, recalled his initial reaction after viewing the footage. When I saw it, I said, "Oh my God, this is a UFO, a real UFO. I mean, you can look at it, you can look at the video, and you can absolutely convinced what you were looking at." Jamie Mawson produced, directed, and hosted Mexico's edition of 60 Minutes. 8 days after the eclipse, Jamie presented the Aragon footage as part of a special UFO broadcast. According to Jamie, the network was inundated with phone calls. The telephone lines blew up. 40,000 calls at the same time. Then the system was completely shut out. We received more than 15 videos, and we now know for sure that in at least 7 of them, we can see the same ship that was recorded by Guillermo Aragon. Eric Aguilar, a 19-year-old student at the university in Mexico, sent in one of the many videos. He was setting up to film the eclipse from a rooftop when he spotted something unusual in the sky. At first, all we saw was a white dot in the sky. That's all we could see in the beginning. Later, we saw that this dot was shining brightly. It wasn't a dot anymore. It was a larger object, and it was giving off light. It was shining. At about the same time, 60 miles from Mexico City, a businessman named Luis Lora videotaped a similar object. As I raised the camera, you could see something in the clouds, and it was a metal object. You could see clearly it's not a star. It's a UFO. Because it had a shadow underneath. If it were a star or a planet, you would see clearly that it would be completely luminous. But this one had a little shadow underneath. Another video was shot by the Breton family in Puebla, a city 80 miles east of Mexico City. Magnifying the Breton video revealed an odd wave-like disturbance behind the pulsating disc, perhaps some of the energy trail. Jamie Mawson enhanced the Aragon footage and compared it to the Breton tape. The objects were photographed nearly 100 miles apart, yet according to Jamie, they were amazingly similar. The video from Puebla was absolutely identical to the one we had seen in Aragon in Mexico. It was the first time in history that you had a tape of 2 UFOs in 2 different places at exactly the same moment. The videos caused a sensation throughout Mexico, but the UFO craze was just the beginning. 2 months later, an engineer named Vicente Sanchez took his video camera to a military air show in Mexico City. I was following one of the planes and I saw a shiny dot in the camera. It didn't fly like a plane. It was undulating. I didn't know what it was, so I let the planes go off, and I focused more on the shiny dot in the sky. What I saw was a bright round object about 10 meters in diameter. It was made of silver, was shining very brightly and reflected the sunlight a lot. The object appeared, undulated, and moved around quickly. A year later, a similar object was videotaped at the same air show. This time, the disc descended rapidly and mysteriously disappeared. Alejandro Lil shot amateur video of the flying disc. It was traveling against the wind, so much so that had it been a balloon, considering the force of the helicopter blades, it would have crashed. But no, it kept on its path very straight and steady until it got lost in the sky. Since the eclipse in July of 1991, there have been thousands of sightings throughout Mexico. There is no clear pattern, although the majority have occurred in and around Mexico City. The witnesses range from pilots to doctors to bus drivers and even school children. So that's a little bit of a Mexico City mass sighting.
That's
in
crazy.
91.
I didn't even know about that one.
Yeah, I think you've seen footage without realizing it.
Probably without realizing what it was.
It's one of those clips they always throw in there when they are showing a TV show or a movie, and they're just like, the UFO sightings have been around for years, and it'll show like Mexico really quickly, like this crazy footage from Mexico City. Mm-hmm. But no, it was a big deal, man, and they took it very serious as well, which is cool.
Yes, you got to love showing it and then having all those people corroborate with their own stuff.
There's something else that you see a lot, and you don't realize it comes from an actual event.
Okay,
I love the picture that that you see sometimes, but the event that goes with it is astounding. I mean, this one is astounding. And I'm talking about the celestial phenomenon over Nuremberg. The picture is by Hans Glaser, 1561. On April 14th, 1561, several residents in Nuremberg claimed to have seen hundreds of globes, cylinders, rods, and other strange objects at sunrise. According to witnesses, these objects flew across the face of the sun, giving the impression of a celestial battle taking place against the morning sky. The people of Nuremberg also claim to have seen a black triangular object before hearing a distinctive crash coming from the outer regions of the city. Historians know these odd details thanks to a Nuremberg broadsheet produced by Hans Glaser. Glaser was a professional painter and illustrator from the city, and his depiction of the event was accompanied by a written description. Beyond balls of a red color, bluish or black, and circular disc, 2 large pipes were seen, within which small and big pipes were found 3 balls, also 4 and more, and these elements started fighting against one another. The fight seems to have lasted about an hour. Then, from the sun and the sky, it fell onto the earth as if everything was burning, and with great smoke, everything got consumed. There's obviously more written than that, but that was some of the most astounding stuff with it. Possible explanations they've given with the strangeness of this event. There's been several theories that have been proposed over the years in an attempt to explain the sighting, because everybody feels like they need to explain things. Psychologist Carl Jung, 1875 to 1961, discussed the Nuremberg UFO sighting and flying saucers, a modern myth of things seen in the skies. Jung argued that UFO sightings by more than one person were symbolic representations of a collective unconsciousness, that otherworldly sightings were more likely to occur during periods of change and upheaval, such as the Renaissance. Others have argued that the sighting may have been the result of atmospheric phenomenon known as a sundog or a sundog ring. And anybody who's seen a sundog before, it doesn't seem to look anything like a UFO battle with triangular objects and
pipes and balls and such.
I mean, look, guys, this from every nook and cranny of looking at it. This is in the 1500s, and it's every UFO we spot today. It's the good old triangle aircrafts. Mm-hmm. It's the cylindricals.
Yep.
It's the little UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything.
It is.
And they're all fighting.
I'm so glad he had the presence of mind to write something along with the picture so that the picture couldn't just be misinterpreted.
Oh, it's written beautifully. Mm-hmm. And, I love the fact that it's all there. And the thing is, even if it was this great imagination, to have that imagination and then have it be all the stuff we see today, then the guy's just a seer.
Right, but it said that that's his job.
Yeah.
His job was to document that. So I don't see why he would.
No, that happened.
Yeah, I don't see why he would make that up.
In 1561, there was a UFO battle over Nuremberg, Germany. Absolutely. And they saw all of that happening. And God, I hope I get to see that someday.
That'd be cool.
I really want to see a UFO battle. I don't care how scared everybody is. Wouldn't it be cool? I mean, wouldn't it be cool?
We'd be the weirdos standing out there.
With popcorn?
Yeah.
That would be like when we're so weird because we love going to the movie theater and buying just tubs of popcorn without going to movies.
Just bringing it home and watching our own movies.
We'd be going down there and being like, we need to, please. Can we have access to your roof? There's about a UFO battle about to begin. Just wait till a giant lizard fights a giant monkey. We're going to be all over that too. We've talked a lot about the early 50s and what a hot time that was, for UFOs. Just insane. One would argue we were being, inundated with UFOs, maybe being even invaded and not even realize it was a very soft invasion. It was a soft grand opening, but very crazy stuff was happening and in a very crazy place. One of the ones that we don't talk about very often happened in the Hoosier state of all places.
Wow.
In the summer of 1952. They say it was a very hot and sweltering summer that summer. And, but people were still out doing things outdoors because it's 1952. I mean, what the hell are you going to do? I mean, you could go outside or die. I mean, there's not a whole lot to do inside, I don't think.
No.
Unless you wanted to clean or something. Okay, so anyway, enough speculation about 1952's day-to-day life. There was some crazy stuff happening, man. The reports are like this. There were 3 of them in the early morning sky. And for the life of them, nobody could figure out what on earth they were. They were glowing a blue-gray color, and each had a long, brilliant tail extending from the back of it, kind of like that of a meteor. Kind of like something we saw not too long ago.
That's true.
There were bizarre sightings of objects in the sky all over the United States during July of 1952. All over the United States. A wave of UFO sightings during the short time, of course, we call a flap. In this particular instance, it would become known as the Washington flap. The thing about these UFOs that's really nuts is they were fighting each other. Residents of Franklin, Indiana reported that these bizarre objects seemed to be dogfighting each other over the town. Sightings garnered national attention, and the Indy Star published a piece in July 28, 1952, detailing accounts of the terrified Hoosiers. The name of the story was like Radar Picks Up Hint Flying Saucers Are Real. 3 objects reported to have moved along, according to the papers, hovered for a while over the Naval Armory in Franklin before flying off towards Martinsville, located a half-hour west. And they did speeds and moves and figure 8 patterns and stuff that nothing could do then or now. It's said by Indiana State Police kept eyes on the objects for more than 5 hours that morning. And one reported saying, those things were so weird I hesitate to talk about them, which is another, key thing that some people do. They don't know. To this day, there's not been anything that explained it. Nothing was able to be said about it, but it was a really big mass sighting. And like I said, one of the cool things is they were saying they were fighting over the town again,
right.
Very interesting.
And you're talking about law enforcement.
Yeah.
Talking about this. So it's not just random people.
I know law enforcement, Air Force even backed up some of the accounts of, the radar and stuff. So yeah, it's very, very strange, but not as strange as my last one.
Okay.
Yeah. This one may be the strangest one that we don't talk about that much. I don't remember ever talking about this one. Maybe I have, but I don't remember ever talking about it. And it goes back to the 50s once again. This one goes back to October 1954, October 27th to be exact. And they say it was a crisp autumn day in Tuscany. There was 2 football clubs, or soccer as we like to call it, playing one another. And it was like a local rivalry game, but there was 10,000 fans. And they were watching in the Concrete Bowl Stadium, Stadio Artemi Francik. And just after halftime, the stadium felt eerily silent. Then a roar went up from the crowd. The spectators were no longer watching the match, but they were looking up at the sky. Fingers were pointing, the players stopped playing, the balls rolled to a standstill. One of the footballers on the pitch was Ardico Mangini, and he was something of a legend of the club, and had played for Italy in the 1954 World Cup. I remember everything from A to Z, he says. It was something that looked like an egg that was moving slowly, slowly, slowly. Everyone was looking up, and also there was some glitter coming down from the sky, silver glitter. We were astonished. We had never seen anything like it before. We were absolutely shocked. Play was suspended because spectators saw something in the sky, according to the referee's match report. Among the crowd was Gigi Boni, a lifelong Fiorentina fan. I remember clearly seeing this incredible sight, he says. His description of multiple objects differs slightly from Magnini's. They were moving very fast, and then they could just stop. It all lasted a couple of minutes. I would like to describe them as being like Cuban cigars. They just reminded me of Cuban cigars in the way they looked. Boney has spent many years reliving that day in his mind. I think they were extraterrestrial. That's what I believe. There's no other explanation I can give. Another of the players, still sprightly in his 70s, agrees. In those years, everybody was talking about aliens. Everybody was talking about UFOs, and we had the experience. We saw them directly, and it was for real.
Wow.
The incident at the stadium cannot simply be interpreted as mass hysteria. There were numerous UFO sightings in many towns across Tuscany that day, and over the days that followed. According to some eyewitnesses, accounts of a ray of white light was seen in the skies coming from Prato, north of Florence. Another man who relishes the chance to speak about that day is Robert Panati, the president of Italy's National UFO Center. He has written many books about UFOs, and his home in the center of Florence is stuffed full of alien memorabilia. Posters of old Italian B-movies, framed newspaper articles, and black and white photographs of flying saucers. The players and the public were stunned seeing these objects above the stadium, Panati says. And at the time, the newspaper spoke of aliens from Mars. Of course, now we know that is not so, but we may conclude that it was an intelligent phenomenon, a technological phenomenon, and a phenomenon that cannot be linked to anything that we know on Earth. He's also intrigued by the material that fell from the sky. What Mangini describes was silver glitter. And it is in fact at the same time that UFOs were seen over Florence, there was a strange sticky substance falling from above. In English, we call this angel hair, says Panati. The only problem is after a short period of time, it disintegrates. As a 10-year-old boy, he witnessed this phenomenon himself. I remember in broad daylight seeing the roofs of the houses in Florence covered in this white substance for 1 hour, and like snow, it just evaporated. No one knows what the strange substance has to do with UFOs. Variously described by witnesses as similar to cotton wool or cobwebs. The substance was hard to collect because it disintegrated on contact, but some people were determined to find out what it was. One of them was a journalist at the Florentine newspaper La Nazione, the late Giorgio Bettini. In 2003, he told an Italian television program, Voyager, how on that day he received hundreds of phone calls about the sightings. From the offices of La Nazione in the center of town, his own view of the sky was blocked by the cathedral. So he went up to the top of the newspaper's building to see what everyone was talking about. The 81-year-old recalled seeing shiny balls moving fast towards the dome of the cathedral. Bettini ventured out to investigate. He came across a wood outside the city that was covered in white fluff. He gathered several samples by rolling them up on a matchstick. He took them to the Institute of Chemical Analysis at the University of Florence. When he got there, he found that others had done the same. The lab, led by respected scientist Professor Giovanni Caneri, subjected the material to spectrographic analysis and concluded that it contained the elements boron, silicon, calcium, and magnesium, and that it was not radioactive. Unfortunately, this did not provide any conclusive answers, and the material was destroyed in the process. So anyway, that's something.
That's crazy.
That's an incredible sighting. Mm-hmm. We never talk about that. There's all kinds of pictures.
Yeah. Okay.
There's tons of pictures. There's tons of like articles from around that time in Italy. And, you know, they actually have pictures of the players looking up at the sky and stuff and pointing up. It's really crazy. And the stadium itself, you know, to see it with the 10,000 people in it really puts a perspective on holy crap.
Yeah, it really does.
And they see it all over the city. And, once again, there was just crazy stuff happening. Now, this was cylindrical objects,
Right. And it makes sense that, the one guy sitting up in the stands saw that they were cylindrical, but the player on the field, maybe he said egg-shaped, but maybe only saw the end of it.
Or we could have had several ones.
True.
It could have been the cylindricals versus the eggs.
It could have been. Maybe they're just wanted to see a good soccer match.
Maybe
football match.
Maybe they wanted to have their own soccer match.
I don't know. That one's crazy. You're right. We really don't. I don't think we've ever talked about that one. It's just not one that comes up that often.
Well, it stopped play. And you can liken that right now to, can you imagine watching the Steelers and the Ravens and all of a sudden,
right?
Halftime, we actually have to stop play because there's a UFO fight over the field, fans.
Right.
I mean, what?
That's insane.
Exactly. And that's crazy. And that happened. So I just think I think it's wonderful.
And all that material.
Yeah.
That fell.
Yeah.
It makes me wish that would happen again with our newer technology to be able to, analyze it or whatever.
Absolutely. I mean, they got stuff now it could have fell on and we would know right then.
Right.
What it was. I would love to know because we've seen UFO seed things before, or at least appears that way, right?
Right.
It looks like they're like maybe helping the trees or whatever. So I don't know, man. I just think it's cool as hell. And that was just a few that are out there because we're getting ready to hear about a whole lot more if everything goes the way we want it to. But hey, you know what I want to hear about?
What's that?
I want to hear your sexy voice tell me some paranormal news.
Oh, okay.
Inside a dying world, drawn and quartered left and right, there burns a lonesome candle filled with honesty and light. Down a guarded hallway and locked within a tomb, she draws a magic sigil, says some words, and follows clues. As the mainstream hills peddle fear and sing the end-time blues, our heroine from Halloween wears black and gives real news. It's now time for Stacey Edwards and Paranormal News.
All right, so let's get to the news. Okay, so as per the usual, we're going to start with some UFO news and what's going on now with the whole Pentagon.
There's a lot of UFO news.
UFO stuff. I know there has been. All right, so this first article is an article from Politico, and it's about Lou Elizondo and how he has filed a complaint with the agency's inspector general, claiming that a coordinated campaign to discredit him for speaking out, including top officials trying to threaten him that they're going to tell people that he's crazy. And all of this happened, this whole complaint that he filed with the inspector general just so happens to be one day before the inspector general came out and claimed he was going to start doing the investigation into the way, all the departments handled the UFO phenomenon.
Right.
Like we reported on the last show.
Yeah, pretty interesting, huh?
Yes. And it was an interesting timing, I think. And he has an attorney. It's Daniel Sheehan, who's a public interest lawyer and activist. You may have heard of him. He's been on some pretty high-profile government cases. But they claim that it's not just about Lou Elizondo and being defamed or discredited. Yeah. It's also about compelling the Pentagon to clear up the ambiguity about what it knows. Like, instead of just coming out and being able to say things like, well, this department wasn't talking to that department, and, nobody knows what everybody else is doing. They've used that for a long time.
Yeah, they've been saying, they've said they're compartmentalized.
Right. To sort of get around the fact that they aren't giving out all the facts. They sort of want to clear that up, and they want to compel them to have to share what they know without trying to dodge it.
Mm-hmm.
So very interesting thing that's going on. They didn't really let anybody know about this. Of course, the Pentagon has come right out and lied recently about Lou.
What?
Yeah, just come right out and said all kinds of terrible things. It's all about the wording. It's all about how they make their statements.
It always is.
And say what they're going to say. But he is not going to take it lying down, I suppose. He's fighting back and he's filing the complaints. And that is, come to find out, I suppose, the reason that the inspector general has decided to do this investigation. Now, that doesn't mean that anything's going to happen. It just means they're investigating to see if his claim is valid.
Right.
So
Yeah, well, I mean, good for him.
Yes.
Screw them. I mean, they're wanting to try to do what they've done to millions of other people, and he's just like, you know what? How about this? How about we put this in the court and we'll see what gets said?
Yes.
And you got to think anybody who's willing to do that, they have nothing to hide.
Exactly. And, while we're on this same subject, there's been more things that have come out on different news. I know we talked about the 60 Minutes news report, but since then, there has been so many more, like every news program has done their own UFO type story now. And I think one of the most recent ones was the Today Show. I think we were just looking where they have talked about how they released the radar footage.
Yeah, that's all over the place.
Yeah, and it's not the videos like we've been seeing. This is the actual radar footage that the guys are watching. You can hear them talking about what they're seeing.
They're saying, holy shit, that's going fast and stuff. I mean, it's pretty crazy because of they're getting swarmed by, and in 2019, they're getting swarmed by these craft, by these UFOs, and it's very threatening.
Yes.
And they're going speeds that are just ridiculous, but you're getting to see the radar screen, which is just so cool.
Yes, because that's legitimate military equipment there that you're watching that on. And this is, of course, that run right there in 2019 off the coast of California where they are having it happen day after day. And so it seems like there's more and more and more information coming out about all of that.
In the newscast that you see on this, people are like, so what do you think about that, Susie? And, the only answer really, I mean, they gotta put that out there. They gotta put that out there. They're like, well, it's either, the Germans or the Chinese or the Russians or, or something, or it's something from another, country. Now, another planet. So here's the deal, okay? And listen to me closely. I need you to get really close to your radio, or get really close to your headphones. If you're already close to your headphones, please turn them up because this is going to be very important. It's aliens. Okay, I don't know how else to say it, but we haven't built anything that can do this stuff. Listen closely. We don't have the technology to do the things these things are doing. If you think you're gonna go to bed and wake up and they're all gonna be gone, oh, sorry, your luck. It's bad. Your luck is bad. Your luck is so damn bad. If you work for the government or a guy named Chad, it don't really matter because your luck is bad. Because here's the deal. They're aliens. They are aliens from another planet, from another solar system. They've been here for a long, long time. They're going to be here for a lot longer. There's probably treatises that have been made and broken or made without our knowledge, just like the things that we've heard. Because guess what else? We heard all this other stuff, and it's true. So when she comes to you and you find out because you got a video in front of you, and the video is her with a basketball team. Now, there's a very good chance that it could be a completely like robot that looks just like her, that was made by special people in a special island, using only chrysanthemum. And, whatever. Yeah, they use flowers to make it. But here's the deal. It's not. It's her and the basketball team. It's aliens. Aliens. Okay? Aliens. Get that through your mind. Whoever needs to hear this. There's not a but or an or. There's nobody that's going to be in trouble. As far as being in trouble for, oh my God, Defense Department's like, well, Department of Defense is going to be answering a lot of questions, Peggy. They sure are, Hal. Well, you know what? They're not going to be answering any questions about the Chinese. They're not going to be answering any questions about the Russians. They're not going to be answering any questions about any of these people because guess what? If they had these things, we would be gone. There would be no discussion because there would be no America. Because they don't like America very much. But even if they did like America, do you think that they could really resist the fact of being able to cloak themselves and like fry our cows? I mean, I don't think they could. They don't have it. We don't have anti-gravity stuff. We don't have. There would be a bunch of dead Russians. Like as soon as they made that first turn, it'd be. I mean, it would just be liquefied.
We'd be like, why do we keep finding these weird craft with all this weird liquid in it? I don't understand what's happening.
I mean, it's retarded. Listen. Okay, I know it's a lot to swallow. I know it is. But relax it. Just let the gag reflex go and swallow it. Because here's the deal, Pickle. This is real. It's real. This isn't some paranormal show where we're telling you some cockamamie, hyperbole that could be something, maybe something, and you want to kind of believe that it's something, but it's probably not anything. You're still going to be able to sleep tonight. Well, no, you're not. Because you need to realize that the whole paradigms are going to shift. Your paradigm is going to shift. The things you worry about in a single day, well, they're not going to be there anymore. The things you worry about. The things you're going to worry about are going to be whether or not we've pissed these aliens off, because they are there. Okay? So when they release this, they just need to be like, well, we have come to a conclusion from looking through the, little amount. We have about 100 million hours of footage, and we have about 100 million papers and sworn documents from the Pope and God, just people that have a little bit of credibility. And there was a team of 422 lawyers that signed off on it too. But just because we got all that, we did find out, okay, there are extraterrestrials, and it seems to be they've been visiting our planet for, a couple years, and it seems to be that it started 100 million years ago, and they come back periodically, like every day. And
every day.
We've had this treaty with them because we didn't want to ruin your dog's life. We didn't want to ruin your picket fence, and we didn't want to ruin, all this good stuff that you have in your life. So as long as we kept working like they needed us to work, they were okay with it. And every now and then they just have to pluck one of you up. And it's kind of like tagging a cow. It ain't no big deal. We all tag cows. And we like cows, don't we? I mean, sure, we eat them every now and then, but we don't eat all of them. There's still more cows being made. And it's just like that, folks. You just got to look at it like that. Do you think the cow knows that the cow beside it's going to be next or not? No, they don't know. All they know is they go up in the sky every now and then. And, they don't come back. It's just like that. It's fine. And every now and then one of them comes back. You look at Travis Walton. He came back, and he's been perfectly fine. He's been able to live a normal life ever since then. He's not had any residual effects. It's not ruined his whole life and made him write books and do movies and stuff. I mean, he was compensated, and that's what it's all about. So we're going to compensate all of you. I know you're all real mad grabbing your pitchforks, but the president has just signed over a $400 stimulus for all of you. And you're going to be getting that in about a week. That's what I thought. Look at that, Sandy. They're all fine now. Everybody's fine. You get a stimulus. Okay? And if you've ever had an aunt or an uncle or a brother, sister, or mother that's been abducted and, got the wet willy and the boo-boo, well, you're going to get an extra $200 and just to take care of that. So, well, the good thing is you don't remember it really, right? So did it really happen? That's what we said on Epstein's Island. If you don't remember it, it didn't really happen. And that was just all a test for this. So see, it's all okay. It's all right. It was research. This has been your government speaking. We hope you have a wonderful day.
Wow. Okay, shall we move on?
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of, alien conspiracy theories, let's talk about this auction that is going on right now for a frame of the 1947 Alien Autopsy film. Do you remember this film?
I do remember it, Fox. That was in between some classic Fox programming, like when llamas attack and when bears attack. And you remember all those they used to make?
Yes.
When lawnmowers attack.
Yeah. Yes, I do. I didn't really watch them because I was afraid that if I did, I would be worried about getting attacked by stuff all the time.
And then the right in the middle of it's like, tonight, we are going to show you something we shouldn't be showing you. Somehow they're letting us air this, even though it's probably pretty damning to everyone. But we're going to air it live. Mm-hmm. And by airing it live, there ain't nothing they can do, pal, because they don't have a button that can turn it all off. Oh, they actually do, sir. Shut up!
So
yeah.
So that was in 1995. There was a documentary that aired on Fox, like you said, under the title Alien Autopsy, Fact or Fiction. And it introduced TV viewers to this footage of this alleged post-mortem of the UFO's, quote, extraterrestrial occupant. Now, the person that owned the footage, his name was Ray Santilli. He's a British record and film producer. And he said that he acquired it in 1992 from a retired U.S. military cameraman during a search for archival footage for a documentary about Elvis Presley. Apparently, he just came across this particular footage. And it's sort of been a little bit convoluted. The story's been kind of convoluted since then. You know, they did the documentary. It was very shocking for everybody who had seen it.
Oh, yeah.
But then in 2006, a sculptor and a special effects designer named John Humphreys claimed that he crafted the alien in the footage and that the whole thing was a hoax, and that he even appeared in the film as one of the pathologists. And then another self-identified participant in the hoax came forward in 2017, a filmmaker named Spiros Malaris. And he said that he had shot the footage in his London apartment using a model filled with animal organs. So now we've got two separate people coming forward saying it's a hoax, but two different scenarios for that hoax. I'm not sure. And then in 2019, this is where it kind of takes a twist. There was a memo that was supposedly leaked from the National Institute for Discovery Science. It's a defunct private organization for researching the paranormal and UFOs. And this is a memo from 2001 that was supposedly written by a physicist named Eric Davis. And the memo stated that a former CIA scientist named Kit Green evaluated the evidence from the Roswell incident alien autopsy and said that the footage was the real thing. So you have all these different reports saying, yes, it's real. No, it's not real. But now they have one frame of it that's up for auction. And what you're getting is the NFT, the non-fungible token, which means that whoever wins, the highest bidder would acquire this string of unique code that verifies the film's frame's authenticity. You would own that frame of the film. And I believe this particular auction that they would send you a hard copy of it as well. And the frame is it's one section where you can actually see the alien laying out on the table,
right.
People standing around him. Now, one weird thing that's happened is this particular auction, which started, by the way, at $1 million for the opening bid, was supposed to be over already. But it just so happens that on the 27th, when bidding was almost getting ready to conclude, the auction was derailed by an attack. Yeah, a DDoS attack.
Yeah.
And a flood of internet traffic that overwhelmed the site and caused it to crash just minutes before it was set to conclude. And so they had to fix that. And then they put a new listing up and they said that bidding will continue until May 30th, just because they lost that extra, time when the site crashed.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just a very convoluted story. Obviously somebody's worried about this one frame of this 16 millimeter film of this very controversial alien autopsy
it's really
film.
Weird because yes, they did come out and they did say, well, this is it. But everybody's ready for that. Everybody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to hear, well, I was in the film and, this and that.
Right.
But then you have this come out and it was, secretive, that it was real. So, I mean, really, with what we found out recently, Who knows? I mean,
right.
you know, they totally, if they got the bodies there, there could totally have been film.
Right.
So,
and well, it just doesn't make sense with two separate people coming out saying, you know, trying to claim that it was a hoax.
Yeah.
But one of them said that he crafted the alien, and then another one said that he filmed it in his apartment with this alien that had animal. Like, it didn't sound like it was the same story. Like, they weren't corroborating each other's stories.
I think we should get PETA involved. You know, about these
about the animal organs,
about the entrails. I mean, it's, if you're going to go that way, pal,
does seem like a case for them, doesn't it?
I wonder if the aliens will fall under PETA. You know, like where do we place these guys?
Oh, I don't know. We'd have to start a new thing. Yeah. But although PETA would still work, because it could be the ethical treatment of aliens instead of animals.
Well, we could give the priests something to do. Because they'll be having all kinds of free time.
Yes, probably. So I wanted to put this story in here while we were talking about UFOs, because I thought it was really interesting. And it's about an interview that was done with Patton Oswalt. And he was talking about, he's an actor.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
And he was talking about his dad seeing UFOs and telling the story during an interview, I think on Jimmy Kimmel. And he was there to talk about, you know, the upcoming Hulu Marvel series that he's in, the MODOK. But they started talking about, you know, UFOs and aliens, and he had an interesting thing to say about it, and I'm just going to read to you what he said. He said, "Here's what's frustrating for me. I have never personally seen a UFO or a cryptid or a ghost or experienced a time shift or anything like that." Clearly, he understands all of the different types of paranormal activity. He said, "But I'm very, very open to that existing, and I'm surrounded by people, friends and family who have seen and encountered UFOs." He said that his dad was a test pilot in the Marines. And all through the 60s and 70s, and when he was stationed at El Toro, he said, you talk to any pilot, they see all kinds of weird stuff up there, but they just don't report it because they don't want to go into a crank file. He said that he was on a test flight and he saw a bunch of objects. He said they looked like glowing balls of energy in like these round metal cages.
Right.
And they were keeping track with the jets. And they would do these turns that you couldn't do under those G-forces and would disappear. And when he came down and talked to his base commander and said, hey, my squad saw, and they basically went, were they metal cages with like energy balls in them? And he's like, yeah. And he goes, do you want to report them? And his dad was like, no, I don't. And then commander went, good, fine. And then walked away.
Wow.
So that was his dad's story that he had heard, you know, growing up. And his dad being a pilot in the Marines, a test pilot. I mean, that has to be pretty authentic.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course it is. And this stuff's just been going on, bro. I mean, what the hell, Stacey?
I love that everybody feels comfortable telling their stories now. And it's like the question that gets asked.
It's the Me Too alien movement.
It is. Well, you know, I
just needed one.
I don't have the story, but even Barack Obama was talking on the Late Show. I guess Corden, I think, asked about UFOs.
And he changed his tune, because if you remember when he was still president, he was like, oh, I could tell you about have to kill you. Well, we know now that he wasn't joking.
Yeah.
He would have had to kill him, because he was like, you know, his smugness. He's just like, well, yeah, there's some things we can't explain. Yeah. And that's just, listen, that's me coming home at 3 a.m. Okay. You have no idea where I've been. There's lipstick all over my jeans.
Right.
All over my shirt. That I smell like 4 different kind of perfumes.
Right.
And, you know, I've got a dumb smile on my face. Now, when you ask me, honey, did you go to the Tata bar?
The Tata bar.
I would have to be like, well, honey, I know that the evidence does mount. But there are some things that I just can't explain. And you know, though, that those things I can't explain are obvious. Because there's lipstick and horror cologne. And
Tata smell on you?
and the smell of fresh tatas. So I'm
horror cologne.
I'm just, oh, come on. If anybody's ever been in a Tata bar, you've smelled the horror cologne. And we don't know why it's there. We don't know if it's there because lack of shower. We don't know if it's there because it's been a really long work day.
Those girls work hard up there. They have to cover the smell of the sweat. People sweat.
They do, but buddy, you don't want to go in there with any kind of allergy. I'll tell you that much. It's just, it was hard for me because, the last time I went, I was very much a VIP. The person there was really into our wrestling. And the DJ and the bouncers and all this stuff. And so when we came in, they announced us coming in. And it was just one of those team building moments, you wanted to be there.
When was this?
It was a long time ago.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. It was a very long time ago. And when, they would be like, hey, here's the guys from that federation I was at a long time ago.
Right. You can't remember the name. It was so long ago.
It escapes me. And, so they all kind of VIP you and all this stuff. But man, this is the first thing I know because it's me.
Right.
And I've got a distinct aversion to whores.
I never worry about you going to Tata bars. Even if you went to one, I wouldn't worry about you.
I really have a problem with,
I know. You'd be, as soon as somebody got near you, you'd be like, do not touch me.
Yeah. It's an issue, folks. Like, I mean, everybody lives life and everybody has people come on to them and stuff.
I have to be more worried about you going to like a convent or a
library.
Yeah, library or, a shy woman's school or something.
Somewhere where the girl's going to be like,
where they all dress like librarians, but they take the pin out of their hair and it goes flowing.
Yeah, because I don't even like innocent girls. That's not the thing.
No, it's the bad girl that looks innocent.
Yeah, I like the girl that's got like she's holding the Bible,
right?
But inside the Bible is like,
liquor.
No, I barely know her. But inside the Bible is like 50 Shades of Grey.
Right.
You
just don't like them to flaunt their badness.
No, I like them to cross their legs a bunch.
Right.
It's, I like them to squirm a little in their chair and I just happen to notice and they blush. And,
now we're giving away all your secrets.
Well.
I'm going to lose you for sure now.
Yeah. You're not going to lose me. You're not going to lose me.
All right. So shall we move on?
I'm still thinking about that girl.
Okay. Well, while you're thinking about that, let's talk about why NASA is building a gigantic telescope on the far side of the moon.
Probably to spy on changing aliens. On the far side of the moon?
The far side, yeah. It's called the Lunar Crater Radio Telescope.
Jesus, does it say something? Is that like acronymed out to?
No, LCRT. It's
okay,
not
all right.
Yes. So it's not a done deal yet. It's just an ambitious concept to place a massive radio telescope on the far side of the moon that would study the universe during this, the time before the Big Bang, like in the ancient time of the forming of the universe. Mm-hmm. They want to be able to study that time period. And the best way to do that, they're calling it the universe's dark ages, would be with this telescope on the far side of the moon so that it doesn't get any interference with, everything.
No satellites, no lights. I mean, it'd be the clearest thing they've ever seen.
Exactly. Now, it's still just in the concept phase, but it has been funded to go further with more, figuring out how it's going to be done. I believe it's one of those situations where it would have to be so huge that they're going to, I think the idea is to create an antenna over half a mile wide in a crater that's over 2 miles wide. And it would be created by robots, and mesh. Like they would send up very light materials, these small robots that would be able to, it's a concept that's already being developed by the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And it would be able to tether the netting and basically build it without having to have people up there.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
It is. And scary, but.
It is. I agree. But, it's an interesting idea. I like the idea that they're doing it. I'm just curious if that's the real reason why they want to put something on the far side of the moon. China's already gone to the far side of the moon. we've already talked about how when the astronauts go around the moon, they hear that weird noise, the music or whatever. I mean, I feel like there's just so many more things that could be studied back there besides, the universe's quote dark ages.
Right.
So
I'm just thinking about that robot building this. Speaking of robots,
right.
It's not a story we're going to have.
Right.
But there's a story in the news. Have you seen the one about the drone?
I have not. The one about the heavily modified drone?
The one about they're trying to pass some laws that will make, drones that kill illegal. Because they had one go kind of in business for itself and totally killed a dude.
I did not see that.
Yeah, well, it's not one that we're going to hear because it happened in like Jakarta. I mean, like,
right,
in Jeddah, or I mean, somewhere that they're just like, ah.
The news doesn't come out very quickly there.
Well, no, it doesn't. I'm sure it was big news there, especially with the family. It's like, what happened to Habib? I mean, it's
right.
But it went into business for itself. They had it programmed to kill certain things. I don't know how they.
Oh, and it sort of malfunctioned and
it didn't malfunction. It made a decision.
Oh, see, yeah, no.
It made a decision and it killed someone.
That's about as creepy as that robot that was doing the self-portraits with the AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was creepy.
Yeah, a little bit different than self-portraits, though.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
I mean,
that's
unless the self-portrait shows sad, depressed robot.
That's basically proving that AI is going to try and kill us.
It's like, well, what kind of picture did 22-44 what did it draw? It's kind of weird, ma'am. Well, that's okay, Johnson. Tell us what did it draw? Well, it does look like the robot, but it's standing on a few corpses of humans and the that house that's white's burning in the background, and it looks like it's urinating some kind of oil all over these corpses.
Right.
And yeah. I don't think this is a good thing, ma'am.
Well, that video, that new Duran Duran video was done completely by AI.
I know it was.
It was not bad. It was pretty good. It was weird.
It was weird.
It was pretty freaky, but
it was done by AI. You're right. And what I'm hoping is that there's a three-way war that we're getting ready to have.
Right.
The robots are going to be fighting the chimpanzees that we've been modifying.
Right.
They're all going to come out of the jungle at the same time and be like, this is our planet. You damn bag of bolts. And they're going to be fighting them. And all this super chipped humans that, Elon has created.
Right.
Will be able to, fight them too. I mean, it's a next level war.
Elon should have dinosaurs on his side.
Oh, is he doing
the whole Jurassic Park? I was just, that story where they were joking about how they could.
Yeah, they're joking.
They could clone the dinosaurs.
Again.
Everybody's cloned dinosaurs.
Dude, you know that every country, like when we trade secrets,
right?
Finally, they're going to be like, okay, look, guys, the aliens are here. We need to tell each other our secrets. All of them. Everybody's going to find out. So it's going to be like, Russia, what do you have? Oh, we've got a pterodactyl. Okay. Well, that makes sense. You got Siberia, and I get it. All right, China. Well, what do you have? We have a few raptors. A few. What? We really like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
We've got 200 raptors. They protect the pyramids. Oh, okay.
They have those super soldiers too.
Yeah. They'll get all the way to the Yanks. And you know that America will have created some freaking hybrid just like Jurassic Park. It'll be Gigantosaur or whatever.
Right.
I mean, it's going to be something stupid.
Something stupid, yeah.
Like,
we took all the powers and put them into one dinosaur. That's us.
We made a woolly Rex. You know?
It'll eat you, but it's furry, so you're going to love it.
Yeah, the kids will love it as they're dying.
You know, that's really a good idea, though. We should get all the nations together and, you know, when it's time to tell us about the aliens and just rip the Band-Aid off, everybody spill all their secrets, every bad thing that's been done, just all at the same time, just get it all over with.
You know, it works great in marriages.
Well, then, you know, maybe the alien thing won't seem so bad.
Right.
Maybe.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. A lot of times those things that annoy you about your spouse, they go right out the window when you find out about, you know.
Right. And I would like to point out that the Vatican is its own country and does need to be represented with their secrets.
Wow.
We'll just schedule out a whole day for them.
Father Johnson. I mean, hey, how do you draw the straw on that one?
It's the Pope's responsibility.
All right, who's going to tell him about Jesus' line? You know,
get the time machine. Come on, just bring it with us.
That's my favorite thing about that Today thing you were watching is the one flighty chick in there, and they're like, well, what do you think about that, Pam?
Yeah, the weather girl. They asked her to be funny, I think.
Yeah, and she's like, well, what if they're aliens from the future? And the technology, she starts going all science on it.
Yeah, she's like, what if it's us and we have this great technology from the future?
I instantly seen that she is married to some unemployed dude that drinks beer all day and watches Ancient Aliens. Because he's like, oh, you're home. I'm glad. Listen, did anybody follow you? No, sweetie. Did they ask you anything today? No, honey, they're never going to ask me. If they do, you have to get it out.
Yeah, they kind of cut her off pretty quick.
I've read Catcher in the Rye 400 times.
I mean, that is one of the theories, though. One of the possibilities.
Yeah, that it's us.
Do you know they make a conspiracy theory trivia game? Like a Trivial Pursuit, but just on conspiracy theories?
I did not know that.
I didn't either. I saw an ad for it.
I would own your soul.
I kind of want it. Well, I mentioned it to Raja, and she's like, I can't play that with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we get those by osmosis sometimes, just from sleeping to it.
All right. So one more story about something that NASA is trying to do. They've recently given an Innovative Advanced Concepts grant to look into the feasibility of bringing a sample of material from Saturn's moon Titan.
Oh, well, Titan's one of them.
It is. And it would be, you know, it's just in concept phases. They're not saying they're going to do it, but they are trying to lay down the concept of how they would achieve sending something to Titan to get a sample and bring it back to study. Of course, that would take a ridiculously long time. It's like an 8-year journey. Mm-hmm. And even though this whole sample return concept may never work, we do have a robotic visitor heading there. It's called Dragonfly. It's an 8-bladed rotorcraft, and it's scheduled to begin the 8-year journey in 2027. So no time soon. They're building it, but they do have, I suppose, a robot going there to, I guess, see that life that they think might be there.
Well, hopefully it's not made by the same fine people that made the one that, you know, decided to kill somebody, because you know it's going to get there. It's going to be life, and they're going to be like, oh, look, it must be from Earth. This should be fine. Oh, my God, run!
Oh, well, it is one of the ones that they say has a higher possibility of possibly life. You know why I think there's life on Titan?
What?
Didn't they make a movie about it or something a long time ago?
Dude.
Not a very good movie. I didn't ever watch it. But,
yeah, but there's, I mean.
But just the fact they made a movie.
There's a few of them like that. I mean, there's a few of them that they always are like, it may have something, and you know it does.
All right. So let's move on to some discoveries. And my discovery stories this time are a little strange because all of these things that were discovered recently were discovered by accident.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Isn't that strange? So the first one is how Egyptian archaeologists accidentally discover 250 ancient rock-cut tombs.
Well,
I mean, I can understand how that would happen in Egypt, I
can too.
suppose. It's like somebody bumps into a mountain. Woo, look, there's a tomb.
Right.
So an archaeological survey crew accidentally discovered some 250 rock-cut tombs at the Al-Hamadiyya necropolis near Sohag, Egypt. It says the graves range in age from the end of the Old Kingdom, which is around 2200 BC, to the end of the Ptolemaic period, about 30 BC.
Mm-hmm.
Now, several styles of tombs and burial wells are carved into different levels of a mountain face at the site. And this is Mustafa Waziri that is talking about this now. And it says one of the burials includes a sloping tomb with a false door and a hallway leading to a gallery with a shaft. And the door is inscribed with hieroglyphs depicting the resident of the tomb slaughtering sacrifices while mourners make offerings to the deceased.
So it was a priest.
I mean, maybe somebody like royal, possibly.
Right.
It says, given their small size compared with the tombs reserved for royalty, which are of large sizes, these tombs may have been allocated to the common people. Oh, I guess it's common people.
Right.
The archaeologists conducting the excavation work at the necropolis discovered numerous pottery shards and intact pots. So they're even expecting to find more of these rock-cut tombs at the site as excavations continue.
Once you find one.
I'm telling you. Now, these 250 that they found bring a total of the ones that they've documented to over like 300 in that general area.
Wow.
So it's just ridiculous. How old is that area where they keep finding all of these tombs? And I mean, they're just doing one thing and then boom. Oh, look. An archaeological site. And all of Egypt is an archaeological site.
I guarantee you there's something below it.
Oh, probably.
I mean, that's the whole thing about it is everything they do. My God, it's just so massive.
I know.
It's just, there's so much to it. That's one of the reasons that last week's show, I was like, oh, God, I went over all that. So we may have to revisit some of that at some point.
Yeah. Well, I think that they do have a lot of pictures up for that, and that's one of the articles that's on the website. So if you want to go there and see the pictures of what they found, just go click on it and it's right there.
There you go.
All right. So this next story is from Northern California. And this is about a park ranger who stumbled upon a treasure trove of several million-year-old fossils.
Oh, wow.
So park ranger and naturalist Greg Francik from the East Bay Municipal Utility District was on patrol, and this is located in the Sierra Nevada, in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains. And he first stumbled upon what he believed was a petrified forest. And he started looking around the area further, and he found like a couple of different petrified trees. And he realized that he was looking at the remains of a petrified forest. So he called some people in, some, archaeologists, geologists. And after 3 weeks of surveying and uncovering more fossilized pieces of forest, they found what appeared to be vertebrate fossils.
Wow.
And from there, they started calling in paleontologists and geologists, people from California State University in Chico, to take a closer look. And eventually they excavated the tip of a pearly white bone. And as they etched away at the rock encasing the bone, teeth and a skull and 2 tusks belonging to an elephant-like 8 million year old mastodon emerged.
Wow.
And this guy just happened to be on patrol, probably been on patrol there, who knows how many times, hundreds of times, and just stumbled across this. It says the last time mastodon remains were found in California was in 1947 during a pipeline construction. So now the initial discovery was almost about a year ago. So they've been working on this for about a year, just hadn't, let anything out about it. But in the past year since the initial discovery, they found hundreds of animal fossils from varying species within the site of where the petrified forest was. So among these finds were a horse, a tapir, the remains of an ancestral 400-pound salmon with sharp teeth.
Wow.
An extinct species of camel that was as tall as a giraffe.
Oh my God, no.
And a gomphotherium, which is an ancient elephant with 4 tusks. Isn't that crazy?
I'm trying to how in the world did he do that every day and be around that area without anybody finding this until now.
I mean, it took him a year to excavate all the animals, but you would think that he would have noticed the Petrified Forest before, but I guess not.
I mean, how did nobody notice it?
I have no idea. It's near a watershed, and I suppose that since that's a utility district area, people probably didn't frequent there too much.
I mean, I get it, okay, because we've talked about before when we get in the canopy,
right?
How big. And
you
massive.
Just don't realize.
And the Sierra Nevadas are like that too. Mm-hmm. And of course, Bigfoot's all over the place. Mm-hmm. But that still, to me, is that's one of the most amazing stories.
Isn't that crazy?
Of some of the stuff they found, and why is it that the Petrified Forest just automatically had all the petrified?
Yeah, all the remains.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird that it all happened together like that. It says that the bones paint a clearer picture of life 10 million years ago when animals evolved from living in forests to grassland and as the landscape changed. And if you're interested in seeing the mastodon skull, it's on display starting September 1st at the California State University Chico's Gateway Science Museum. So if you live in that area and you want to go see what they've been finding, just go to that Gateway Science Museum and they'll have it all on display later this year. Yeah, and just it's amazing that it's found by accident.
It makes you want to get out there and look for more. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm always wanting to go into the mountains even here.
Oh, yeah.
Especially after finding out about the Saltville, you know, and all the stuff in the surrounding areas and the mounds and
right.
My God.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting how many things we are finding now. I mean, I know the technology's gotten better, but it just seems like the Earth is giving it up now. It's like, okay, here are my secrets. Here, dig this up. Here, find this.
There's been a lot of people talk about that and talk about, you know, the astounding amount of things we are finding, and not just finding. We're finding things that we've never found before.
Right.
Even if you look at like Viking finds, right? We found more Viking stuff over the last couple of years than we've ever found before. Telling a story finally.
Right.
And unraveling the story. We found swords that they don't have any way to make these swords. You know, they could make it. Let me get that right.
Right.
They could make it now, but it would take such extensive time.
But how would they have made it back then?
And they mass produced them.
Right.
You know, that's the whole craziness is some of the stuff they find are just like, how did they do this? And some of the little figures, you know, that they find are like, how in the world did they do this? And that's what's so cool. Look at Stonehenge. How many freaking years did Stonehenge have research and everything? And then all of a sudden, they keep finding more and more and more and more.
Yeah, and the stuff that they're finding in Egypt and all the things that they keep finding that date back further and further. And, you know, it's crazy.
It's almost like we're reaching the end of the game.
Right. Like we're finally wrapping up all the missions.
Yeah.
We're getting the end of the story.
Right.
Oh, wow. Okay, so one more discovery. This one is just, I thought this was so cool. It's about a first-time metal detectorist. First time going out, they find an ancient stolen treasure worth thousands of dollars.
Oh my God.
Now, it says, you know, finding something high value with metal detector is kind of hard. But according to the West Mercia Police Department, this man named Charles Cartwright was trying out his new metal detector in Polefields Coppice, which is a field in Worcestershire, England. And there he found buried treasure, which included jewelry from the Roman and Viking ages and artifacts from ancient Egypt, the Bronze Age, and medieval times. Now, I know that sounds very strange, like it's all a bunch of mixed stuff, but what it was is somebody local had been robbed. And the people that stole it buried it and left it. I guess they were planning on coming back later.
Yeah.
And he just happened to be in that area. And he said that, you know, once he found the signal, he just put his spade in about a quarter of a foot and he heard this tinkle on something metal. And he moved it to one side and there was like a large silver jug. So he uncovered that and he lifted it out. And then there happened to be a huge plastic bag filled with like almost 300 items.
How much does he get to keep?
I don't believe he gets to keep any of it because, you know, it had to go back to the owner.
Right.
So he did call the police because when he found it, he realized, you know, obviously it was not there in the ground. It was somebody had buried it there purposely. And he told the landowner where he found it and the coroner's office about his haul. And it was discovered that the items had been stolen and buried at that site 4 years prior.
Oh.
And they had been burglared from the home of their rightful owner that was located about 45 minutes away by car. And they are worth upwards of 5,500 British pounds.
Wow.
Which is nearly, almost $8,000. And he just had so many questions, but the owner was so shocked that the items had suddenly been found and just amazed. He didn't expect to get anything. I mean, he had a whole collection and didn't expect to get any of it back.
They found a lot of stuff recently. They found some hordes of weapons that had not been used at all. And that wasn't something people just did.
Right.
But on this one hill that's very popular, but it's like a burial place. But they found all these unused weapons, almost like a freaking armory. But it's not the only one. They found a lot of caches of weapons and stuff recently too.
Right.
Talking about your recent discovery stuff.
Right.
And they're like, well, we don't know why these were like this. I mean, they obviously had to use them for practical purposes.
Right.
And they're just pristine, kind of. Just strange.
Weird. It is very strange. But I thought that was a really fun story. And I hate now when he goes out metal detecting. I mean, how do you top that?
Yeah,
Finding a huge
do you
hoard
think
of...
that on Metal Detector is Twitter? They're like, oh, yeah. It's that some bitch.
Sure, first time out. Yeah, sure, you found something.
Yeah,
sure.
I bet he stole it.
Stole it 4 years ago and then found it again.
Yeah.
Oh, I never even thought of that.
Yeah, he found out there's a reward.
Well, he's probably with the home. I mean, that guy that owned it, they're probably in it together because he got some kind of insurance on that 4 years ago.
He did.
Some kind of insurance. And now he's got all his stuff back.
I'll tell you what, you know how you would know I found it?
How's that?
You wouldn't.
I see.
That would be in a little chest over beside the couch. Piece at a time on the black market. That's when we go somewhere really cool and we want to buy stuff. And in a country where you can still, like put like real things up on the table.
Right.
Like, well, we'd like to have that diamond necklace. Maybe this will do.
And you're just bartering with it. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, that's the life right there.
Oh, wow. All right. So let's move on and let's talk about a couple stories that are sort of updates or additions to stories we already talked about. So this one is about something else that was strange that washed up on a beach in California. Now, remember when we had the story about the football fish? And it's a deep sea creature and nobody could figure out how it ended up on the beach. So a few miles south of Crystal Cove, where that football fish was found, another deep sea creature washed up on the beach. At this time, it was called a snipe eel.
Yeah.
And some families that were at the beach found it. And this happened back on May 23rd. And they collected it and they called some people in to look at it to see if they could figure out what it was. And it turns out that it is a deep sea creature and it lives roughly about the same depth range as the football fish.
Oh,
which is very strange.
Very weird.
It's a very good find. It was completely intact. It was pretty long. There's tons of pictures and videos. You can see the kids like holding it and stuff. They did end up giving it to a ranger for the Doheny State Beach. He's an ocean creature enthusiast, and he brought a jar filled with alcohol and took it with him to, I think he's going to take it to the San Clemente High School Marine Biology Department just to give them like a cool specimen to have. And so, I don't know, it's just very strange. I think it's very strange that two creatures that you would not normally see, deep sea creatures, in the same couple weeks wash up very close to each other on the beach.
Yeah, you have to wonder what's going on at that depth.
Right. And you know how the article about the football fish told us some pretty strange stuff about the football fish. There isn't a lot of strange stuff about the snipe eel except that his anus is right on the side of his head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty weird. I love how they include those fun facts about the deep sea creatures are so weird. It's almost like God created them and it was like, that's weird. And then, made sure it stayed deep in the ocean.
It could have been a fight because you know how football, fish can be. He's probably like, hey, shithead.
Oh, wow.
I can't help it. And don't make me mad.
All right. So let's move on and talk about some FRBs.
Oh, boy.
Yes. So I actually have two stories that relate to FRBs. The first one
That's
is
a good thing.
about
since
how
you're talking about them.
the Hubble telescope tracked down fast radio bursts to the spiral arms of different galaxies. Now, they've traced back the locations of 5 of them to the spiral arms of 5 distant galaxies. Now, this was the first story that came out, and the whole story is just about how it recaps the whole FRB and how they trace these back and how it's clues that help them rule out some of the possible triggers. But this article concludes that they absolutely still believe they come from the magnetars, the stars, and that is the prevailing theory. However, another story came out just recently talking about how they found an FRB very close to our own galaxy and how baffling it was. They used the word baffling.
Scientists are baffled.
Yes. And it turns out that this particular FRB traces back to what's called a globular cluster. And what is strange about this is there are no magnetars in this cluster. And this is absolutely where this FRB is coming from. So you have to weigh your options there. Either there's more than one source for the same thing,
right,
or they're wrong about what's making it.
Oh, well, that could be the case.
So it is very
do they have any idea yet on the FRBs what the significance is?
Not for sure. Like I said, they think it's just some sort of event in space that's happening that's causing these pulses. And maybe we just didn't detect them before because now our telescopes are more powerful. But it is strange that they're obviously coming from different source material.
Do they think that it's intelligent life?
I don't think that they've got that on the table, really. I mean, they might poke it around and joke about it, but I don't think that is a serious theory. I think that they believe it's still just some sort of star thing, exploding thing, something in the universe. So
yeah, well,
they're gonna have a rude awakening, aren't they?
Well, it's just crazy
when the aliens show up and be like, "We were telling you that we were coming for years."
Oh, I've been thinking all about that. I've been thinking about the crop circle messages and the lights. Like when there's a fleet, right? It seems like they do different designs and then go away. I'm like, God, I hope that's not their alphabet. Like where we were.
They're like giving us the key to the universe, and we're like, "Oh, pretty."
Exactly. Like we were supposed to know this years ago.
Oh, somebody knows.
Oh, somebody knows.
Somebody knows.
Yes, the emperor knows.
All right. So let's move on to this next story. And this is about the legendary Amber Room. Now, do you remember a while back we did this story?
Oh, God. Yeah.
How they found what
they thought was.
Yeah, they found the sunken German steamer, the Karlsruhe.
Yeah.
And it was sank by a Royal Navy submarine in 1945. And they traced it back to where it came from. It came from the exact place that supposedly the Amber Room was being stored. And initial observations of the wreckage showed crates that were not military crates and possible framework, frames of pictures.
Yeah,
and
they had to get it out of there quick.
Things. Exactly. So there's an article out now where a 12-man team from the Baltic Tech Diving Group are going to spend 10 days off the coast of Gdansk, Poland at the end of this month. So they may be out there right now where this sunken German steamer is, and they are going to dive and try and recover some of the crates and see what's in them.
Wow.
Hopefully they feel like they might find the lost Amber Room.
That's insane.
Isn't it? I mean, I'm glad that they're talking about how they're following up. Like most of the time you're just like, oh, we think it might be here, and then you don't ever hear anything again.
Well, did you find it? Did you what did it look like? Oh. I don't really want to tell you, sir. Mm-hmm. Well, come on. I mean, this is what we've been waiting for. Is what was there something there? Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. There was. But you're going to be disappointed. Well, just hit me. What is it, Johnson? There was no Amber Room, sir. Oh, all it was this book of Thoth. I don't know. It seemed like it was glowing, and fish were worshiping it and stuff. But I just
made a sea cult now.
I just left it and left a grenade. Just figured we'd blow it up, and I mean, whatever they find is going to be,
Yeah. So what they're going to do is the divers are going to document and make an inventory of what they discover when they go down. It's said that most of what's down there is practically intact. And in the holds, they discovered military vehicles, porcelain, and crates with the contents that are still unknown. So if anything of interest is found, the Polish authorities will then authorize a state dive to start actually bringing the crates to the surface.
What a strange war that was. Yes. I mean, the forget for a second the atrocities that the Germans did, and I don't want to short anybody. I mean, it's horrible, okay? Just freaking terrible. But what a strange war, because they were also had their paranormal team with Himmler, who was out there looking for like the Spear of Destiny, and I mean all these crazy artifacts, and at the same time you had these people that were art historians, and they were stealing all the fine art from everywhere in the world. When they would attack them, they would go and they would gank their stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why there's caves everywhere. Like there's so many caves that we haven't discovered yet. There's lakes, where at the bottom of the lake, there's tons of those lakes that, where they've got Nazi gold and they've got.
Right. It's like he was literally a supervillain trying to take over the world.
I mean, he was.
Yeah.
I think he may have been the basis for a lot of supervillains.
Probably.
That it's just weird. I've always loved the paranormal part because that's always been like, so you're looking for that because it actually has power?
Well, it's funny because, all militaries do that.
Yeah.
They were just open about it. They were just like, yeah, we're definitely going for this stuff.
Yeah, I think that definitely militaries all do that. Some of the stories that have escaped out of Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff during all the Gulf War things over the past, decades. Jesus, it's hard to believe it's been that long. But, you got Desert Shield was probably 91. And ever since then, we've somewhat been around there.
Right.
And some of the things they found, you hear these reports. And the problem is, you don't know how authentic these are. This could be some blogger writing his best fiction novel.
Right.
But there's some of the really crazy stories where they had to fight a giant and, or they go in and they find this giant tomb or whatever. But it was like they really wanted to get in Iraq, and they really wanted, I mean, and you got to think, cradle of civilization. I mean, think about the things that are buried there.
Oh, yeah.
And they found a lot of them. The thing is, I watch these specials all the time, and they're like, well, we did go in here and start working on this at this point. I'm like, wait a second. I thought it was too dangerous to breathe down there. You know?
Right. Well, and if you go in with your military, then everything's classified. You don't have to tell anybody anything. So,
no, I mean, it's really crazy. I would love to have the chance, especially in Iraq, to go look. I mean, it wasn't that long ago we found a city there that we thought was supposedly hidden, like it was even mythical or whatever.
Right, I remember that.
And that's what I'm saying. They've got stuff everywhere, and I just don't know how researched it's been. Or it could be like some of the places like China, where they've got those pyramids, but they supposedly don't want to go into them because they don't want to destroy things.
They've been in there.
I think they have.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I have a hard time believing that whether it's Egypt or China or wherever.
Well, especially China, they're so curious about everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time believing that they haven't looked at everything. And when that's happened, why have they not shown us? Well, it's not because of the amount of the treasure. It's their treasure. They could have whatever they wanted.
Right.
Is it because of, like we talked about, the ethnicity, right? And that goes with Egypt as well. Egypt does not want you to think that Egyptians did not build the pyramid. That's what it all comes down to.
Right.
The whole date thing all comes down to, they don't want it to be, because it's what they hold on to.
Right.
And I get that. I really do. But I also don't think it would take anything away from them.
No, because
the way they think
they could just be like, our ancestors did this.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know. I don't understand.
Well, we've been watching a lot of stuff on Atlantis.
Right.
And reading a lot of things in Atlantis. And some really damn interesting things. I talk about suspicious observers sometimes because, it's straight up scientist. I mean, he doesn't just delve into crazy stuff,
right?
But he's a big fan of crazy stuff.
Yes.
And he pointed out another guy that we watch a lot, and that's Jimmy from Bright Insight.
Yes.
And
super interesting.
Yeah, Bright Insight doesn't put out a ton of videos, but when he does, they're great. And it's so funny because it mixed worlds for us, because Stacey and I are totally planning on going on this Lost Incan Tours deal. And just really, we're going to do it. It's just, when are we going to do it? But we're going to do it. And it's so cool because they go to so many different places like Easter Island and, here and there. And they also have the way to get in there. It's Brian Forster. But he has the way to get in there, like grease the palms and go look at the things. And especially like with Egypt, some of the things there that just show that high technology was used. And I don't know, man, it's weird when that all mixes up. But, he was talking about the Atlantis deal, he being on Suspicious Observers. And he's like, Jimmy's right about this. And this is how, when the flood came, it really went over that and destroyed it in the eye of the Sahara and the eye of Africa, whatever. Take some time. I won't delve into it any further than that right now. We might do it in a future episode. Right. But go look up the eye of Africa. Go look up the eye of the Sahara. It's so insane just to look at that anomaly. And it matches up to Plato's description of Atlantis. Pretty damn close. And you can also see salt all over the place where, it was, ocean did go over it. And it's just really insane because think about the fact of finding Atlantis. Right. And just the amount, the treasure trove, pun intended.
And then them talking about how the Atlanteans just migrated over into Egypt.
Well, yeah,
which just makes sense.
That's the whole thing. Yeah. I would be, if I was Egyptian, I would be so proud.
Yeah, I'd embrace that.
Yeah.
And yes, we're descended from the Atlanteans.
One of the things I did not know till recently is that the Egyptians themselves are where the whole Atlantis mythology comes from.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that either.
They have that written down themselves, that this is where it came from. This is where we came from. Like they came here and they wanted to represent what they had or whatever. And that's insane. Yeah. It was actually, Plato got the story. It's like third hand, but back in the day, we know about the Greek mysteries. Right. And they would travel and partake in this, and it's so wrapped in mystery what happened there, but that's a whole nother thing to go down, but that's like where they got their high knowledge, right? And only the most learned people and scholars and all your philosophers you've ever heard of, they all went through this, but they also took pilgrimages to Egypt. And back then, this is the time when there would still be like the Library of Alexandria and stuff. Right. Back then, there was these high scholars in Egypt, and you would go study with them, and they would teach you the secrets of the ancients going back to the beginning. And just, people always talk about, what would you do if you could travel through time? If you could go anywhere, you could stop this from happening, or you could do this. And I know the right answer is you go smother this baby before it could commit genocide or whatever, which I wouldn't be able to do, by the way. No. I'd be like, can I get him when he's like 17? But I honestly wouldn't want to go back to it happening as much as I would like to go back to partake in the Greek mysteries. I would like to go back and go to Egypt and learn from this freaking scholar who has all the original.
Well, I just love that, back then there was a life you could have where your sole purpose was to think. Yeah. Like that was your job. That's what you did. You just thought, and people came to you to ask you what you were thinking. Right. And your wisdom or whatever. I just think that's amazing.
The more things change, the more they stay the same, though, because they got to do that, but they had to do it within the confines of what was not
heresy.
Yeah, what was not heresy or
true, but they were smart enough to.
That's the whole thing we find out. They partook in this stuff, and they had their secret societies, and their secret societies were born out of necessity. Right. Unfortunately. And what really gets my goat is, who the members of the secret societies are? The people writing the laws telling you can't study the stuff.
Right, right.
It's so funny how this all works.
People just don't change, do they?
No, they don't. And that's the whole thing that really makes me mad. Like a lot of times at my Bruce Wayne job, and boy, it's been a long time since I've said that, but hashtag Bruce Wayne job, I try, because I've been doing this for a very long time, and I've developed this thing where I just push the easy button. And because I got to this point where I realized we make these things so difficult. We make like a customer complaint so difficult. We get 4 pages of information on it. We find out so-and-so said this, and they said it to this person, and it became this, and it caused this issue. And then they've got this $4,000 thing that they bought that's blah, 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 blah. So what I do now is I'm like, okay, we replace this. We tell the truth. We forgot to order that. Or, they dropped the ball on it on this end. Really sorry about that. This stuff happens, but let me do this for you. And I have like 100% satisfaction rate on that because they're not used to somebody being honest.
Oh, don't I know that?
Yeah. I mean, they appreciate it so much when I call them, and I'm just like, look, I just want to level with you. Number one, I am so sorry about what happened. It's this kind of stuff's happened to me before, and I don't want you to have to go through this somewhere else. Yes, I can give you a refund, and you can take that somewhere else, go through all this, talk to some booger eater, and they can try to figure out exactly what you want. I know what you want. I know where it's at. In fact, I've already ordered it. That's not pressuring you. You don't have to take it, but it will be here tomorrow, and it's completely perfect. Plus, I knocked it down to cost, and I've got you a check here with the refund of the difference. Plus, I want to pay for your gas, and I would like to get you lunch. I mean, that cost me nothing compared to what it cost, with that honesty and that relationship that you have from then on.
Right.
And it's just what we're missing in the human race. I mean, I'm the furthest thing from perfect in many things, but I strive to try to change people's view on things like that. That's why it makes me so mad about things like the hidden secrets here and the hidden secrets there. Right. How easy would it be just to say, we screwed up, guys. We should have told you all this a long time ago. We were afraid it was going to scare everyone, but here's the deal. You're not stupid. Okay, there was machinery being used, and it was high machinery. We don't know who did it. We kind of, from best we can tell, we moved into these original places. Right. And we built on top of those. We tried to mimic it. We're not sure where it came from, but here's the information we do have. I mean, is that so hard?
I just think it would be good to do that because clearly they had a high level of technology, yet something still happened. I mean, the big cataclysm or whatever, something they couldn't control. I mean, how is not knowing that going to help us in the future? I mean, you have to understand what happened then, honestly. Yeah. So that it doesn't happen again.
That's the only way you're able to help your future.
I mean, unless, of course, it was something that out of your control.
Well, I mean, the only way to prepare is to know your past.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that really rings true. It's like having that seed vault on the moon. There would be a lot more urgency to get that done if they told us the truth about, every 12,000 years, we're going to have. Right. And, so it might be good to get this colony. And we can get as many people off as we can. We can start terraforming. Right. You may not get there, but your children can. Yeah. And I don't know any parent that wouldn't be like, you know what, let's make this happen. Right. I don't know. It's just, hopefully someday, somewhere, somebody hears what we say. And it just, all it takes is one person, and it changes a lot of things.
This is true. All right. Well, let's move on, shall we? Okay, so let's talk about some new TV shows.
Oh, boy.
Coming out. And this first one is really interesting. It's a new Discovery Plus show starting later this year. It's called The Haunted Museum. Oh. And it is a collaboration between Zach Baggins and Eli Roth.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
They're going to explore the stories behind some of the real-life spooky objects that are obviously from
Right.
Zach's haunted museum.
Which he always adds to.
Absolutely. And it's amazing because, of course, Eli Roth is great at telling those stories.
Yeah.
And they're just going to take an object, I believe it's 8 1-hour episodes plus a special 2-hour episode. And each episode is going to be like its own mini horror film produced by Roth, telling the stories behind creepy pieces fans can actually see in real life at the museum. Now, they didn't tell what all of the episodes are going to be, but it does say that according to the press release, among the items that'll be highlighted are of course, the Dybbuk box, a carved wooden statue owned by actor Stephen McQueen, the Westerfeld dollhouse, actor Bela Lugosi's mirror, which I think is awesome, and the Devil's rocking chair. So as they're doing the episodes, it'll be intercut with a commentary by Zach to kind of add more context to different things. So I think it's going to be a really interesting show. It's not technically a, paranormal show like you're used to, but I think it's going to be really fascinating and, it's going to be well done. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the reenactments and stuff, it'll be cool, man, just seeing what made those things haunted.
Oh, yeah. Telling the stories behind them.
Yeah.
So there is also another Discovery Channel show. This is a reality show called Who Wants to Be an Astronaut? And it's going to launch a contest winner into orbit with Axiom Space. Now, the way it's going to work, it's a reality show competition series, and the lucky winner of the competition will be sent to the International Space Station for an 8-day mission. And the aim for this mission to follow the launch of the world's first all-private mission to the orbiting complex, which hopes will be about 2022.
Jeez.
Now, NASA has not stated if they're going to actually allow the reality series onto the space station, but that doesn't mean that they still can't launch them into space in some way. And
we're eventually going to have Big Brother in space.
They are currently doing a casting call. If you go to paranormalsideshow.com, I do have this article up. Just go to the news page, find the article, and when you click on it, there'll be a link for the casting call. It's an application that you do have to fill out. Why they haven't said who's eligible and not eligible. They do ask you a lot of questions about your physical capabilities, because obviously that's going to be a concern if you're going into space. They're not saying that anybody with physical disabilities is not eligible, because they do have people going into space soon that have like artificial limbs or survived cancer. That is doable, but they do ask you a lot of questions like that just to sort of gauge your physical abilities.
Best case scenario is you have to be pretty shipshape, man. I mean, that's always been the deal with going into space, is you've got to be like mentally okay. You've got to be, and that's going to be the big one. They're going to have to make sure that these people are not flakes, because you don't want to be going up there with...
you have to be mentally stable. Absolutely. The series is going to be in 8 parts, and it's going to be, like I said, a competition series. So they're going to have these grueling competitions sort of in like the way they would test you to be an astronaut for real. I guess they're going to make them into competitions for the contestants.
That's really cool.
So it is kind of a cool show. I'd be really interested to watch and see what kind of things they do. I would not last in that competition. They put me in that spinny thing. Yeah, no, I would be throwing up everywhere.
I think my problem is the little capsule underwater.
Oh, yeah, no, I could not do that. Do not put me under the water. No.
Well, the water sucks for you. What sucks for me is the
small.
Claustrophobic.
Yeah,
and so that was the whole thing that ixnayed my space camp.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was set to go. I mean, it was done. It was done. It was done and paid, and I was going to Huntsville, and I was going to do space camp, and I couldn't do it. And honestly, the reason couldn't tell anybody then, but the reason totally was just being locked up.
Right.
Going under that was the one thing I kept thinking about over and over, was how they put you in this pool. And
do they make the kids do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
They did back then.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you could have opted out.
You could, but I don't want to go to space camp and opt out.
And then opt out. Yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah. No.
All right. Well, I just have a few more stories to end the show here. And the first one is a story from Lake Pepin about the Lake Pepin monster.
Oh, I haven't heard this one.
A local businessman offers a $50,000 reward for proof of a sea monster in a Minnesota lake. Now, Lake Pepin is bordered by Wisconsin on one side and Minnesota on the other. And in the town of Lake City, Minnesota, tales of a monster in the lake have been floating around since the 1870s.
Wow.
So now a local businessman named Larry Nielsen has offered up a reward, a $50,000 reward for anyone that can bring him proof of the Lake Pepin monster. They call him Peppy.
Yeah.
I
have heard of Peppy.
Mm-hmm. And he said that one night his wife and I were out on Lake Pepin and there were no other boats out there with us. And all of a sudden he saw a big wake against the current. It was about 100 feet long and 1.5 feet high. And he started doing some research, and that's when he heard about Peppy. And he's just been fascinated with him ever since. They've had 7 or 8 formal expeditions try and find it. They get a ton of calls about it throughout the summer saying they've seen it. And, some people have sent like videos and sonar images, but what you have to have is a good photograph and a piece of the creature's fin or skin for DNA testing. And once researchers at the University of Minnesota Biology Department confirm that the DNA came from some unknown species in the lake and the photo can be authenticated, you will get the money.
Wow.
So nobody has been able to grab a bit of DNA. He has, like I said, he's had some pictures and some sonar images of something that was 16 to 17 feet long under a boat, but no one has been able to bring the DNA. But he knows it's out there, and he's just waiting for the right person to be able to get that proof.
He's doing it wrong.
You think so?
You got to pull the Bugs Bunny method. I mean, they need to dress up like a female creature.
You'd have to know what the creature looked like, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, take the guess that they think it is. Have like a
some
hot
lipstick on it.
Yeah, a hot little eel down there, and I guarantee you'll get some DNA.
There you go. I will also mention, I didn't grab this story, but do you remember the Oklahoma Bigfoots?
Yes.
It used to be hunting. Now it's not hunting. Now it's just,
have lunch.
Right. The bounty is up to $3 million now.
Oh, my God.
For proof of Bigfoot. They just announced that they've had more money put on there, and please come get your license and quote hunt. Don't actually hunt, but search for Bigfoot and try to get that.
This stuff bothers me so bad. It really does. I hate when they do contests and, I don't know.
I mean, I know it's a tourism thing, but, you gotta.
I hope beyond hope that somebody just finds Bigfoot up there and they have to pay.
I hope so.
I mean, wouldn't that just be fantastic?
Yes.
I mean, yes. We want to find Bigfoot. Right now is the time. I mean, we're sitting here talking about everything seems to be happening.
I know.
It's going to be, they're going to get out of UFO. It's going to be Bigfoot in it. There's going to be a race of them that are Bigfoot.
Right. I mean, that is a theory.
It is a theory.
So it's plausible. Yes. All right. So this next story is kind of sad, and it's a bit of a public service announcement as well. And this is about a missing man, who was found dead inside a Spanish dinosaur statue.
Oh, wait.
So there's a 39-year-old man that they believe accidentally dropped his cell phone into the mouth of a Stegosaurus dinosaur statue that's in Catalonia. And supposedly he crawled in head first to try and retrieve his cell phone and became stuck inside one of the legs and could not get out. So it's a paper mache Stegosaurus. It's huge.
It's paper mache and he couldn't get out?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's something else on it. It stands outside. It's not just paper. It's got to have some kind of glue or something on the outside to make it stiff. But a father and son noticed that there was something inside. Like, I guess there was a space and they could see in, and there was some kind of horrible smell.
Oh, my God.
And according to local media, the man had been reported missing by his family just hours before his body was discovered.
Oh, no.
And who knows how long he had been in there. Somehow he got inside the statue's leg, got trapped. It looked like he was trying to retrieve his mobile phone, which he dropped, and entered the statue head first, but then couldn't back his way out.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, people, if you drop your phone somewhere, please just get a new phone.
Yeah.
Or call somebody.
Yeah.
Or tell somebody you're going to climb inside a statue.
Or have your phone set up for Find My iPhone.
Right. Well, he knew where his phone was. He just couldn't
yeah,
get
but
to
I
it.
mean, for somebody else that's looking for him.
Right. Well, there you go. That's a good idea.
I don't know why that. I mean, obviously he must not have had that, or they just didn't know to use it.
Right. But so it is a sad story that happened. But
wait a second. He went after his phone.
Yeah.
Why didn't he just call the police?
I don't know. I don't know if he didn't actually reach it, or maybe it was dead or broken by the time it got in there. Maybe he was inhibited in some way.
Okay, no.
Because clearly you're not thinking straight if you're climbing in the mouth of a dinosaur statue.
I think there might be some foul play involved.
Well, they said it wasn't suspicious, but you never know.
I mean, it's weird though, right?
It is weird, and I do think that there was something else going on there that they're not saying.
And before I die in one of those things,
right,
that thing's going to know I was there.
Oh, yeah, or you're going to scream, or obviously, if they could kind of see him in there must have been like spaces in it. I mean, why wasn't he screaming for, I don't know. I just don't understand what happened. If you drop the phone, just leave it.
Yeah, I have to get a better look at the, you know what I'm saying? That's crazy.
It is very strange. All right, so I have one more story for you. And this is from an area called Hayward's Heath. It's in Mid-Sussex. And according to the Mid-Sussex inspector, Darren Taylor, a woman called 999, because that's their emergency number over there, accusing her neighbor, of sending a ghost to haunt them.
Oh, my God.
She called emergency services. So the caller shared her supernatural concerns at around midnight on the morning of May 22nd.
How would you like to be the cop that had to go after that
The
one?
inspector said that while the woman was reassured by officers about the nature of ghosts, which I don't think was very fair, they shouldn't have said that, ghosts weren't real or anything, she was given a more serious message, talking to, if you will, about the importance of using 999 for emergencies only. Which I don't know if that's, she obviously really believed that her neighbor, I don't know what happened, doesn't say what happened between her and her neighbor, but just that, clearly they had some kind of disagreement, and then she felt like her neighbor sent a ghost to haunt them.
Do you think she did?
Probably. I really want more detail. I want to know what happened. I want to know why she thought that. I want to know what happened between her and the neighbor. I want to know what her neighbor does. It makes her think she has access to ghosts that she could just send to haunt whoever she wants.
No,
that's some power.
It is. It means you've done something really bad to the ghost.
Right.
You've trapped it and you're sending it away. And, that's just weird, man.
Right.
I'd say that she planted something that the ghost was attached to.
Oh, that's one way to do it. Yeah. So you just have to hoard up a bunch of haunted items.
Yeah.
And then when you find someone you want to haunt, slip one of the items with them. And there you go.
Absolutely. People are attached to so many items, and just make sure that they're attached to it. Do some communication, some EVP, whatever. And once you find out, just throw the son of a bitch in the window.
You could just mail it to them.
Anything.
People get stuff in the mail. They're like, oh, this is cool. They take it out. They handle it.
Right.
They're like, what is this? This is cool. I guess I'll keep it. It was addressed to me. I don't know who it's from.
Or, hey, here's this old book.
Hey, here are these African tribal masks.
Nah, dude. No.
I'm just going to send them to you.
We're cutting you off. That's just wrong. I'm going to get some kind of VVP now because of that. It's, oh my God. You won't let it drop. Well, speaking of not letting it drop, that was some really good news.
Thank you.
And thank you for all that. And by God, we're so close to this ufology stuff, aren't we?
We are.
It's about ready to, the other shoe's about to drop. It's just crazy.
Do you think they'll have the report on time by the end of the month?
I do.
I hope so.
I believe they will. I believe they'll say it's part 1 or something,
Right.
And our good old friend Redacto is going to be all over the place. But I think that we'll get a lot more than we bargained for.
I hope so.
At this point, I think we're going to get a lot more than we bargained for. But if you want a lot more at a bargain, you need to go to paranormalsideshow.com because you'll find all kinds of stuff. You'll find all our links there, including the good old patreon.com/paranormal sideshow. And that's a great way because you get to watch us play with the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we have a lot of fun with the moon. You get little moon videos. You get other stuff like watch-alongs and all this stuff. So the more you do it, the more we do it. And a lot of fun. But hey, we love you so much. Hopefully this audio is perfect. We can't wait to bring you some more crazy news. And go check out the website, because you're going to get stories every day. And tell your friends about it. Tell your enemies about it. Tell whoever. For my lovely wife, Stacey, this is John. And so long from the Sideshow.
Good night.